on this computer. Big smile, everyone. We're going live on Facebook. All right, here we are. Choose where you want to post your video. My timeline sounds good. Excelente. And here we are with Cutting Edge Webinars.
We're live.
Yeah. Mastering the game of Facebook. I mean, business. Here we go now. All right, pressing the go live button on Facebook. We should be live now. Coming up.
Hello, world.
Yeah, there we are. And we have the chat box open for the people who are registered in the Zoom webinar. We're live on Facebook also, so you can see us. So hello, everyone. Welcome. We are doing the Cutting Edge series, and we have David Baer tonight on our webinar talking about mastering the game of business. Now, I'm Judy Goss, by the way, if you don't know.
Hi, Judy Goss.
Hi, David. I'm streaming this on my Facebook feed, so most of you know who I am. And the rest of you, if you haven't recognized me from the TV hosting that I do, or you wouldn't recognize me from my radio show, but I do have my picture out there with that too. I'm going to be talking about my company tonight. I'm also an entrepreneur, for some of you who don't know. And I founded the company What Women Want Networking. And we're having our national conference in October, our second annual national conference. I'm so excited. And the theme is Go Big. And that is exactly what we're doing tonight with David. David Baer is a business and mindset strategist. And he not only is the one that Inc. magazine called a leading expert in mindset, but he also in 2 years built his own company from $0, that's nothing, to $5 million within 2 years. And to top it all up, I'm honored to say he's a keynote at our What Women Want National Conference in October from the 19th to the 21st in Atlanta, Georgia. So the reasons that I'm bringing you all on this webinar today are twofold, because I love giving you value and teaching you how to grow your businesses and how to become better people just in general, right? I feel like I've done just that with David, and it's very exciting to me to share that, as well as to give you a preview of one of our keynote speakers at the conference, okay? And David is such a great partner because he's so parallel with what Women Want is all about, which is professional development in combination with personal development. And it all, really goes within the same window there. So I always say we can succeed farther and faster in our businesses if we also work on the business of ourselves. So, David, I'd like to welcome you to Cutting Edge Webinar. And I'd also like to say thank you for the past several months that you've been helping me with my business. I came out of starting, honestly, with your conference back in January, out of the stress and overwhelm. and I went into that state of where beautiful things are and work is easier and that state of being where I could really produce more and develop my company in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thank
amazing.
you.
And it's awesome to be here, Judy, and I'm super excited about being at the conference again this year. As I shared to my community through our email communications and through Facebook, it was one of the most dynamic groups of women that I've been able to serve and support, and I had a blast last year. I learned a lot, and I can't wait to be back again this year. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you. Well, we were honored to have you, and we're so thrilled to have you back again this year. And again, the foundation for the foundation for our company, really, the principles are combining professional and personal development. And I didn't realize how important that was really until this year. And so I thought Excel sheets were important to building a business, and I didn't really understand where the mindset piece came in. So my first question for you is, why is mindset so important? I mean, you think of the book Think and Grow Rich and all of the positive thinking theories and all of the people telling you that, you really got to set your mind on the goals. But why?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think at some level, this conversation around mindset has become white noise. Like, we understand that mindset is important, but then articulating what we're really talking about can be a challenge. What do we mean by mindset? And what we mean when we teach it is It's really about accessing a higher level of intelligence. It's about being able to free yourself from the habituated negative bias of the mind that develops over time from our childhood as a result of our environment and as a result of the way the technology of the human being works, in particular the brain, and developing new patterns of thinking that are more in alignment with creating the life that we want. And in effect, aligning ourselves more with the nature of reality rather than consistently telling ourselves stories that not only don't feel good, but aren't true. And so on multiple levels, this whole mindset thing is important. Number one, because the brain is a goal achieving machine. So if you believe money's hard to make, money is going to be hard for you to make. If you believe you can't trust people, then you're going to create circumstances in your life with people who are not trustworthy. If you believe you're not good enough, then at conscious and unconscious levels, your brain is always trying to prove out whatever your hypothesis is, whatever it is you believe. So on one level, it's important to make sure that what you fundamentally believe about yourself, about money, about your business, about relationships, about your partner, about life are all aligned with the vision you have for your life because of this goal achieving aspect of the brain. Einstein said the most important decision you can make is whether you live in a friendly or a hostile universe. Because whatever you've decided the universe will be for you, you will perceive life that way. You will only have ideas that will create a life that is like that for you. And then, in what I would call the coincidental or quantum nature of life, you'll create circumstances like that. But the other reason why mindset is important is because everybody seems to want to feel like there are two things that are missing. There's never enough money and there's never enough time. But if you really look at the amount of time you spend in stress, anxiety, overwhelm, comparing yourself to other people, the average person is wasting over 1,000 hours of their precious time on an annual basis in some form of what we call suffering. And if you add that up, if you multiply that by what you're worth on an hourly basis or what you think your value is on an hourly basis, you're talking about millions of dollars of potential that you're wasting as a result of these habitual negative patterns of the mind. So there's all your time and there's all your money. So for me, those are the two big reasons. You can't create a life you love if at an unconscious level you've got all of these limiting beliefs that it can't happen. And at the same time, you're not living a truly joyful experience and you're wasting so much time and so much money. And therein lies all of the frustration of your life and the gap between where you are and where you really want to be. So that's why mindset is important. And then, okay, how do we?
My next question.
All right, the next logical question. Yeah. So,
and I know it's not a simple answer. So one of the things that I love about these webinars is that, we give tips that people can go out and really use right away. And I know that you're not going to solve all their problems tonight. You may for some, but I know for myself, I started a little bit at a time and kept going and using more and more advice and tips and coaching and all that. And I came to a point where I actually did start really rapidly improving. So if you could just maybe give us a few of those tips tonight, that's what I'm looking for our audience to get.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's an extensive conversation. You spent 3 days with us at the Powerful Living Experience just going over part of what we teach.
Right.
I think that what's important to understand, number one, is that your thoughts are not your thoughts. Like there's a thinking that is always taking place. On a moment-by-moment basis, the way the brain works is it's always matching up whatever experience you're having, and it's going, what do we think about this? Right? What do we think about this? What's our opinion about this? And it's throwing off these opinions, and we experience that as what we're thinking. And when you live an unconscious life, you don't ever question those thoughts. And without even being aware, you just become the thought, right? Like I remember one of the first times I started really becoming self-aware, someone cut me off on the road. And I had that automatic reaction of, that person's an a-hole. They shouldn't have done that. How dare they? They're disrespecting me. And I remember catching myself and going, wait, none of that is even true. Like that person didn't see me, right? That person wasn't paying attention. So for some part of our lives, almost all of us are living an unconscious life where we're just becoming this opinion that the brain is always making. And then we become self-aware. We realize that this thinking is always taking place. It's almost like walking around with a small like Bose stereo, and there's an opinion about everything that's happening as you're walking around. If you were walking around with the stereo, you wouldn't buy into what the stereo is saying. But because the stereo is in your head, right, we tend to think that it's just true, and we don't question those thoughts. But there's something that happens in our lives where we start to question our own thinking, and so and that becomes the beginning of a new possibility for us. So one of the things that I would suggest, if there's a tip, is that if you're ever moving into some form of a suffering state, and again, we define suffering as any type of feeling that doesn't feel good. Stress, anxiety, and overwhelm are the big ones. But whenever you notice that you've moved into an emotional state of being that doesn't feel good, as opposed to a beautiful state of being, feeling excited, feeling joyful, feeling curious. There's only two states of being, beautiful states of being and suffering states of being. And you're always in one or the other, and you're never in both at the same time. So whenever you move into a suffering state, the most important thing you could do is stop and take a look at your thinking and to question it. Because what we suggest is that suffering is an unnatural state. It's not normal. It's become normalized. But it's actually not naturally, meaning the natural world and the way that we're designed, it's not natural for you to be in stress. I think the statistic I read was that if you're in some form of a suffering state, stress, fight or flight, right, for more than something like 7 seconds, it's unnatural. Because we were supposed to move into
really? I would think it would be more natural, like, to slip into that, because it seems like so many people do, I guess, right?
Yeah, because so many people do. The idea is that the bear is supposed to surprise you in the woods, and for 7 to 17 seconds, you're sprinting to get out of the way, and then you move back into a more relaxed, nervous state.
Right.
But and again, in that same statistic I read, and it was something shocking, 7 seconds, 17 seconds, 47 seconds. If you are in stress longer than that, you actually begin to self-toxify. So your body is not designed to be in that nervous system state. And so if you're consistently living in this, the tip number one is to just stop, take a moment to look at what you're thinking, because it's what's causing your feelings, and to question whether or not, what you're thinking is really true. What you'll find is that the vast majority of the time it's not true. It's a story you're telling yourself that has very little foundation in reality, but it's what you're telling yourself, and it's moving you into some form of suffering.
And how do you tease that out when you are in that form of suffering, of overwhelm, anxiety, stress? How do you tease out what really is the root of the cause of it?
This is what's so hard. So, I'm gonna share a couple of things that need a larger explanation, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna share them. What we've discovered is that, number one, the only cause of these states of suffering, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, is your own thinking. That the experience is an experience, but within that experience isn't stress. You're choosing to make that experience stressful, and you're doing that through the mechanism of your own thinking, the meaning that you're giving the experience. You and I talked about recently, like a challenge with GoDaddy and having to be on the phone for a long time with GoDaddy and working through, right, email challenges. There's nothing actually inherently stressful in that experience, right? Like, you're on the phone, you're talking to someone.
Except for the fact that I couldn't get your emails about the webinar, but that's all right.
Sure, and that's an experience, right? You're not getting my emails. But you can take two people. One is not getting my emails and they're stressed out about it, and the other is not getting my emails and they're not stressed out about it. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between the two? Well, it's the meaning that they're giving the experience of not receiving my emails. So this thing called suffering, which I would suggest is the number one thing that holds entrepreneurs back from creating more powerfully in their business and in every aspect of their lives.
My next question.
We self-create through our own thinking. And you asked how to unwind all this stuff, and you can only really truly begin to unwind it, which is why personal development has been stuck for so long. Personal development's been stuck for 20, 30, 40 years. And now we're finally starting to create some really profound breakthroughs in how we live our lives, and actually rewiring the neural networks of our brain, which changes the way that we think. But what's important to understand is that if you're thinking something that's causing suffering, remember, your thoughts are the only thing that can cause your own personal suffering. But the quality of the thinking that causes suffering is that you're thinking something that's not true. So let's look at something like overwhelm. We get overwhelmed.
So what do you mean that's not true? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like you're making conclusions about it basically that aren't.
Yep. That are not in alignment with the nature of reality. You've actually moved into unreality as a result of what we call unintelligent thinking. You're not seeing the geometry of what's happening in reality, which is
logic.
Moment by moment by moment, life is working for you in incredible, extraordinary ways to support you. It always does. It's in the math. It's never working against you. And so then we go, well, how is that possible? I got in a car accident. Or how is that possible? I lost a loved one. How is that possible? And we start to give meaning to the experiences of our life to try to create some context for them. And we go, this is happening because of that. Or this shouldn't happen. Or this should happen. Or I've got to get all this done. And if you think you've got to get all this done, or something bad will happen, and that thinking is moving you into a suffering, I would suggest that you're wrong. You don't need to get all this done, and most likely nothing bad will happen. So if you look at overwhelm, like at one of our events, we actually take what we call the 6 misconceptions, and one of them is overwhelm. And we, rather than having people figure it out on their own, we go, this is actually the thinking. This is the thinking around overwhelm. What you will find 100% of the time is that overwhelm looks something like, I must get it all done. There's not enough time to get it all done. And if I don't get it all done, then I will fail, it will fail, or I will be a failure. That's overwhelm 100% of the time. And so what we would suggest is that you actually don't need to get it all done. That what's true is you just get done what you can get done, and then life has this miraculous way of corresponding with you based on what you do get done and what you don't get done, and it recalibrates, and somehow magically it works it out for you. You either thought you needed to get done and you didn't need to get it done, or you got 75% of it done, and then lo and behold, something showed up that got the other 25% done. And every single time in our lives, this is true. This is what's happened. No, it was never disastrous because we didn't get it done. And yet, we will tell ourselves this story that if we don't get it all done, then it's going to be a disaster. And that thinking, which is not true, is what's causing your suffering. So, a lot of our work is focused around the fundamental belief that there actually are no problems and nothing can ever go wrong. And the only thing that can go wrong is that you will apply a thinking to an experience that moves you into suffering. And when you do that, you feel like crap. And you cut yourself off from all of the resource you need to actually address the challenge that may have shown up in your life.
Right.
Right? We talk about this at the Powerful Living Experience. All of your power is living from a beautiful state of being. So we teach this to entrepreneurs because, and I'll give you a great example. We have someone in one of our programs right now. He's doing a lot. He's taking a lot of action. He's not producing results. And he's spending time on a lot of things that we wouldn't recommend he spend time on, even though we've been teaching him to spend time on other things. He's going out and executing on strategies that we don't recommend. And in all of the strategies we do recommend, he has a reason for why it won't work for him. Well, when we dug really deep, what we found is that he had a core belief, which was throughout most of his life, he's taken a lot of action and nothing's worked. Well, if you believe that you're taking a lot of action and nothing works, because the brain is a goal-achieving machine, you're setting yourself up for taking a lot of action and having nothing work. So at unconscious levels, the things he's choosing to focus on are not going to work because the brain in very sophisticated ways is going to try to prove out his belief. So what we helped him see was, yes, you've always taken a lot of action in your life, but it's always been working. It's always been working. It's been a learning. It's been a teaching. It's been an unfolding. You've been building relationship capital. You've been developing skills. Maybe you're being a little bit impatient because you think it should be working now in terms of generating more income, and it hasn't yet. But we've got to get him to turn around this limiting belief that no matter what I do, it doesn't work. So we can teach an entrepreneur the best strategy for whatever type of business they have, and no matter what stage they're at, and regardless of where they want to grow. But if we've got these fundamental limiting beliefs that are in the underbrush of everything, remember, they're wired into your brain, and the brain is a goal-achieving machine, and on multiple levels, you're creating that into reality. This isn't some sort of like fairy woo-woo stuff, right? This is understanding how the tech works. So mindset is 80% of the game, and we got to get the mindset dialed in first, and then we can take a look at what strategies are going to make the most sense. But because mindset has become white noise, and because personal development has been basically a broken promise for the last 40 to 50 years, it's been a philosophy rather than transformation. Entrepreneurs are now developing the belief that there's some magic pill strategy out there, that if they can just find it, then everything will work. Even though every successful entrepreneur you talk to, if you ask them, what do you credit all of your success to? They'll say, well, it's who I became.
Right.
None of them will go, well, it's the day I launched my podcast, or the day I wrote my book, or the day my funnel worked, or my day. None of that. So, part of what we're trying to communicate into the space, and we teach really high-level business strategies, is stop with the addiction to the strategy. Use your business as an opportunity for you to develop, as you started out this call with, and get into a structure or a framework around transformation, whether it's ours or whether it's somebody else's. I don't happen to think there are that many out there, but whether it's ours or whether it's somebody else's, that can help you dehabituate yourself from the thinking that is holding you back. When you do
I'd like that to start with a conference on dehabituating that.
Yeah.
and come to really dive into more, detail about, what you do and how it works. Because I know that you broke up exclusively, or especially, I should say, I guess, for us, you're breaking up the mindset and the business.
Yeah.
So people can really understand the fundamentals of each one and the basics, and then move forward after that. So I'm excited about that. And you do have a discount, David discount, where you can get $100 off right now on either general admission or VIP. You want to go big, go VIP with us, right? And I'm actually going to, for all the people that are registered in the call, I'm going to copy and paste the link to the registration page and your discount code. And if you wouldn't mind, David, I just would like to get, I put David Bear as a discount code. Hold on. Discount code David discount.
David discount.
Yes, David discount. So it's $100 off any level ticket. And the tickets start at $325. It's like $100 a day for 3 days. That's ridiculous for the amount of education you're getting, even just from David Bear. So if you could just kind of summarize what you're going to be talking about in that mindset and in the business categories, what you're going to be covering. So people, when they come to the conference, and if anybody has questions, by the way, that's watching here on the Zoom webinar, please, feel free to message in. No questions ridiculous. And
no, there are no bad questions here. The only bad questions are no questions.
And I'm sure I probably couldn't answer it, but I know David can. So that's how much faith I have in him. So if you could just kind of summarize what the basics are, what you're going to be covering, if they do, when they do, I should say, come to the conference, what they're going to be learning.
Yeah, and also I would just, for those who are watching, like a good question to ask yourself is, if David or Judy could answer a question for me, what question would I ask? And then ask that question. Because it is a rare opportunity to have two people who have created successful businesses, who have been working on our mindset, who have, in a lot of ways, between Judy and I, in some way, shape, or form, we've created what you want to create. So use this as a great as an opportunity to get answers to those questions that you haven't, had yet answered.
And by the way, before you start, I'm getting all kinds of comments. Great advice, so true. Oh my gosh, we do create it. Hi, Judy. Hi, Catherine. So people are really resonating with this.
So I think what
you're going to get at the conference.
Yeah, what really inspires me about what women want is the question of what do women want, right? And I'm gonna speak on behalf of what I understand the experience of humans to be, but also the experience of women.
And I'd like to preface this with, you and I have had extensive conversations on what women really want.
Yeah.
So the name of my company is What Women Want, and David has helped me tease that out and really figure out what it is that we're looking for and what we want to achieve.
Yeah, because I think at some level, just as people, many of us don't know what we want because we've lived in limitation so long.
Right.
And we've lived in limitation that other people imposed on us. Other people didn't believe in us. We live in a society where there are rules and constraints and limitation, and there's limitation around money and what we think we can or can't do, and establishing financial freedom and emotional freedom and relationship freedom. So what happens is we get to be 40, 50, 60 is the imagination muscle has begun to atrophy. And so part of what I'm excited about talking about at What Women Want is how do we really reconnect with our desires without any type of constraint? How do we open up that canvas so that we can begin to dream again and to dream into a space of infinite possibilities, and then make that a reality? And that's sort of the second part of what I want to talk about, because then you have those of us and women who know what they want, but we're creating limitation for ourselves as well. I say ourselves like it's me and the girls, but we're creating limitation for ourselves.
Well, it will be in a few months.
Right? Because again and it's not to point fingers. Like, I don't think this is, it's not a conversation that comes from a suffering state of being. But because we have been told that we can't, or we've been told that we're not good enough, or we've been told that women don't do that, or we somehow came to the conclusion that our role was different. And so we played small. And so I think, what's so beautiful about what Judy is doing and the mission of this organization, it's about unleashing potential and possibility for women everywhere. And we need that now, because of all the challenges that we're facing in the world, which have been, let's face it, created by men. And so if we're going to create the type of world that we all want to live in, part of it is awakening men so that they stop being the problem. And then the other part is awakening and unleashing women to become more of a part of the solution. And so as entrepreneurs, we're able to do that because you have a vehicle for bringing solutions into the world. And so we're going to talk on the mindset piece. I think it's in the morning. On day one, we're really going to be
on day two.
On day two, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm skipping through that. On Saturday, we're going to be exposing the common patterns of thinking that we all have that are generally invisible, that are holding us back and limiting us. And we're going to talk about how to become more aware of those, and then we're going to talk about what do we do once we become aware of them so that we can transform them. And then once we've opened that up and we've created this space for a new possibility, because we're no longer putting self-imposed limitations on ourselves, then we're going to start talking about business strategy, business fundamentals. How do you get clear on what your spiritual vision is, like what you really want to bring into the world? And how do we create a business that allows us to do that, that also gives us the financial freedom and the lifestyle that we want? I think, yeah, especially for people who, all entrepreneurs, but I know we're going to have many, like what I would call knowledge-based entrepreneurs, like people who teach and coach and consult.
That's right.
How do you design a business that makes an impact where you get to spend most of your time actually doing what you love and make it highly profitable at the same time?
Right. I'm so excited. And I know, everyone's going to resonate with what you have to say and what you have to teach us. And I have actually a message here from Kim. She says, I've tackled the mindset point you raised through self-development, which led me to start a business. I'm most interested on your advice on closing deals. So that, Kim, will be in the business part of it. I network, have a brand and market, but the sales angle is more challenging. It is for all of us, Kim. Clearly, you're good at this, taking a business from 0 to 5 million in 2 years. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice, thoughtful comment. Yeah. So now, everyone watching, you understand why he's our keynote at the conference and is going to be delving so deep into these topics. We're going to get 2 90-minute sessions. So I'm really excited about that. And I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being involved with What Women Want. And if anybody didn't have any more questions, I think people are loving everything you have to say. But
I know Lucy asked a question. Should we address Kim's question or no?
Did Kim have a question?
I don't know. She says, any advice for newbies on the sales aspect?
Yeah,
So for Kim,
I
like,
certainly can't answer that.
so, so one of the things we always look at first, Kim, is whether or not we're asking the right question. So you think that you want to have a conversation about sales. And it may
Mhm.
be true. We may look at your business and go, yeah, you've got a consistent flow of leads of your ideal client and you're just not enrolling them. But if you don't have a consistent flow of leads of your ideal client, then that's actually where we need to look first, because the sales conversation or the enrollment strategy or sales conversion may not be the big issue, right? So, and that's why what we're going to walk through at the event is the what I call the core four. It's being clear on who you serve. It's about understanding how to powerfully differentiate yourself in the marketplace so that your ideal client knows you're the one that they need to be working with. It's about making sure you've got your products, programs, and services structured the right way to provide massive value, priced at the right price point, which I'm going to suggest should be high priced or premium priced. And then that last piece is enrollment. But if you're trying to enroll people who are the wrong client, or you're trying to enroll people and you haven't yet figured out how to powerfully articulate what you do and how you do what you do that makes you stand out from the rest of the market, makes the rest of the market look like the old way of doing it, then we're going to have a problem when we get to the enrollment conversation. So we want to make sure those pieces are in place first, because then the enrollment conversation has its own structure of how to powerfully enroll people. I just don't know that that's Kim's problem. We'd have to find out more.
Right, and also I just want to kind of throw out there what you've taught me, and is the approach to picking up the phone and having. So this would be in the mindset piece, having that mindset before you even pick up the phone, not thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to call this person. They're not gonna. I'm not sure if they're gonna do. And flipping that and really laying the foundation for picking up the phone and dialing and knowing that you're going to be giving great quality service, which I think is kind of what you just said, really. But you taught us, on stage how to specifically do that.
Yeah, it's when you do get into the enrollment conversation, right? Like, let's say the right place for Kim is for us to focus on sales right now. She's got all the other pieces dialed in. She's got a consistent flow of leads. She knows how to predictably get in front of her ideal client, and she knows how to powerfully message what she does. That's a lot of ifs, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if that's all true, then we look at, well, what is the issue with the enrollment conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that we need to get Kim some sales training on how to have powerful enrollment? Because there's a science to enrollment conversations, just like there's a science to everything else. Or is it like what Judy's alluding to, where unconsciously Kim is moving into fear because she's become self-obsessed around, like, well, what about me? And what happens if I don't do it right? And what if they say no? How will I look? And we need to get her outward obsessed about creating value. And listen, I can impact this person's life and I can change this person's business. So we need to get her attention going away instead of within, right? So there's all kinds of different ways we might look at this. The good news is, for me, in the way that I've come to understand business, it's almost like driving a car. Like, we could have a conversation with Kim and know that the problem is the muffler. And we would go, okay, got it. Then we'll replace the muffler. We need to improve this part of your business. So, when you understand how business works, you can literally run diagnostics, know which part of our business isn't working and what we need to do to fix it. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand how business works. And so we're just totally confused. We're like, I don't know why it's not working and I don't know what to do. And then we get stressed and we get overwhelmed. And it doesn't need to be that way. Like, you could never imagine, Judy, like taking your car into the mechanic and the mechanic comes back after a day and goes, I'm sorry, Judy, we just don't know what's wrong. You're going to have to buy another car, right?
Yeah.
So I believe business is the same way.
Okay. And we have Tracy. Hi, really great perspective. Hi, Tracy. How do you handle the mindset when a long-term client decides to change up your contract and drastically affects your business? Ooh, that's a hard one. What tools can I use to manage this small business challenge and not feel like I gave everything and now feeling that obviously my perspective of my performance is different than my client of 10 years? So I think that's what we were just talking about, really, is flipping that perspective and realizing the outward thoughts where it can take us this way and not inside, right? And
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, what's her name?
Tracy.
Yeah, the first thing we would do with Tracy is we'd go, well, what is it you think about that? And she would say something like, well, I feel like I gave my heart. Now I didn't deliver enough and I feel this way about it. And then it would move into another thought and another thought and another thought. And the great thing is that through that process, we'd actually start to understand what Tracy believes. Because her reaction to a client saying, hey, I'm changing the terms of our contract is different than what Judy's reaction would be. Judy's reaction would tell us what Judy believes. Tracy's reaction tells us what Tracy believes. And what's important here is that whatever Tracy believes, that's actually dictating her entire experience. So if Tracy believes something like, I always put my best foot forward out there and no one ever appreciates it, then she's just going to create a lot of circumstances of putting her best foot forward out of there and people not appreciating it. So we would go, okay, got it. I understand that that's the meaning you're giving the experience. And if it's creating suffering for you, we would say what? It's not true. That you're misinterpreting what's going on here. Let's see if we can come up with an interpretation that feels good, that's even more true. And in that process, we would reconstruct Tracy's beliefs. So then that's the mindset side of it, right? Like, okay, so your client came back and restructured something with you. Are you moving into suffering around that? Why? And then there's the tactical part of it. But we always want to be doing the tactical response from a beautiful state of being. We don't want to be trying to figure out tactically what to do from not feeling good enough or being angry or being stressed. We're not resourceful in that state. You can't be guided in that state. You're not creative in that state. So that's, again, like it's laser coaching through chat, right? But that's how we would handle Tracy. We would go, hey, real cool. How cool. This experience has invoked something in you. Let's take a look at it because guess what? You believed this long before this experience came around. In fact, the way the goal achieving technology works is what you believed created this experience. You don't like it? Okay, cool. Then let's change the meaning we give it. Let's make a new powerful decision. Let's redevelop the relationship that we have with this experience. And we'd even be able to look back in Tracy's life and go, gosh, it's happened over and over and over again. And if we do the work with her properly and she's coachable, we'd actually go back and find the original experience where she reacted this way. And she would see it wasn't even true back then. It was just a meaning that she gave the experience, right? And then we'd reconstruct her entire past so she can step powerfully into a different future because right now she's just living the same experience over and over and over again. And again, I'm making a lot of assumptions. I haven't had a conversation with Tracy, but this is just how it works. Awesome. I got Lucy up here. I don't want to leave her out because she's been sitting there for a while. Lucy says in the Q&A, how does an entrepreneur put themselves out there with what they offer in the beginning stages and still be authentic with their craft? So for me, I go, oh, Lucy's somehow tying authenticity with being out there and marketing. So I would ask Lucy, what do you mean by still be authentic? Why is it even in your realm of awareness that by going out and marketing your business, you might be inauthentic? Tell me more about that. And as Lucy tells me more about that, I want to understand what Lucy believes about business and authenticity and putting yourself out there. And I'm probably going to find some limiting beliefs. And then we're going to clear those out. And once we clear those out, and Lucy understands that there's nothing more authentic than going out and taking a stand in the world and sharing what you believe and committing to serve other people. Like, I don't even understand how inauthenticity inserts itself there, right? I mean, I could speculate around what Lucy's talking about, but when we're really operating in alignment with the truth itself, there's no inauthenticity in putting yourself out there with what you have to offer in the beginning stages. So we'd want to figure out what is making the experience inauthentic for her, what she believes about it. And then once we get her into a beautiful state of being with empowering beliefs that are in alignment with what she wants to create, then we go, okay, tactically, how do we do this? And at a fundamental level, Lucy, we would say, well, we need to get clear on who your ideal client is. And we need to get you in front of your ideal client with your message. And then you go, well, how do we do that? And we talk about that. We're actually going to be talking a lot about that in the afternoon on day 2, which is Saturday.
And Lucy, by the way, is coming to the conference from North Carolina, and I am going to make her stand up and
ask the question.
Yeah, absolutely, because I've seen you transform people there on the spot. So Lucy, we appreciate you coming back for a second year this year. It's awesome, and we're excited to have you stand up and everybody watch David as he's doing now, coach you, but you'll be able to answer and really tell him how you feel back. So that's part of the magic of you being involved with this whole venture is that you can really tell people one-on-one, what their issues are, or work them through whatever challenges that they may be, presenting at the time.
Yeah, listen, we're all in it together. So
Yeah, that's for sure.
right, like we're all trying to figure out how we can express ourselves into the world authentically, as Lucy would say, and make a difference in the lives and businesses of other people, and do something that when we leave this physical life, we feel good about the fact that we were here. So, my mission is to help Lucy and Tracy and Judy and everyone else do that, because we believe that we can end suffering in the world. And it's a big aspirational thing, but we know that suffering is caused by one thing and one thing, which is your own thinking. Like, happy people don't hurt other people. So if we can help people really get aligned in living beautifully in their inner world, then we're going to change the world. And we can't do that on our own. We need Lucy powerfully operating in her life, and we need Tracy powerfully operating through her business. So,
and Judy too.
and Judy too. Judy's operating pretty powerfully, and Judy too, yes.
Yeah, well, and I want to tell everybody too, because I'm always very honest with everyone, and yes, I am becoming a huge success in my life right now, and I've waited very long for this. But it's not that I haven't gone through my challenges and dramas and adversities, bankruptcy, divorce, and 10 surgeries in 10 years, just all kinds of icky stuff. And David, honestly, and you say this publicly, you have too. So it's not like we're sitting up here going, oh, we're so happy and this is how you do it. And we've actually been through it. and we understand, and David, obviously you are the teacher, so you understand above all how to bring that about. So that's also one of the reasons I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So go to What Women Want Conf, CONF, and get your ticket now, okay? We are selling tickets like mad. It's just really exciting. We have, so far, women from 11 states have enrolled in the conference, including Georgia, of course. And it's just going to be a blast, just learning about our professional and personal development all weekend, but also the kinds of people you're going to meet besides the speakers. The quality of women there is just so incredible. So go big with us, get that VIP pass, and join us. And if you have any questions at all, please email us to the website or call the 800 number, whatwomenwantconf.com. David, I know I heard through the grapevine from a little bird that you have some coaching calls to get on after this even. You're working late tonight. So I want to thank you again for taking the time out to, what you say really does transform people. I can see it already on the comments on Facebook and on the Zoom call here. So it's just wonderful to see you inspiring and teaching and just really changing the world, making it a better place.
Well, I have the same opinion of the work you're doing, Judy. And I'm really, again, I'm honored to be able to support what you're creating. And one thing came to me as you were sharing, which is, for those of you who are coming to the conference, I know from our events, we have people who come because one of their friends introduced them to the opportunity. And it was a life-changing opportunity for those people. And so if you really want to be of service to, other entrepreneurs and other women that you love, I think it's awesome that you're coming to the event, and let them know about the event as well too. Like there's nothing better than coming and spending 3 days going through transformation in your business and in your mindset and in your relationships, and then doing it with other people and being a part of facilitating that transformation too. So
yeah, having a community and a safe place to go through these types of things with is just the best. So
awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you so much again, David. And thank you everyone for coming on this call, and for the live people on Facebook and your comments and your support and everything. And we will see you, if not before, in October. Again, it's whatwomenwantconf.com. Take the David discount. get your ticket and join us.
Thanks, Judy.